Welcome to Shine Online with Ellie Swift. I'm your host, marketing and mindset coach Ellie Swift, here to help you connect with your clients, create life-changing results in your online business, and shine neon bright online. I built a multi-six-figure business in under 2 years and, more importantly, have supported my clients to get amazing results. My clients have generated 5 and 6-figure launches, tripled their income, and completely transformed their lives using my signature framework, the Swift Marketing Method. In this podcast, I take you a layer deeper into my business, my life, and my mind. If you're an ambitious entrepreneur, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hello there, welcome back to Shine Online with Ellie Swift. Today is part 2 of my Quarter 3 2020 update for you all, where I'm going to take you through exactly how I had a $115,000 cash month. If you haven't listened to part 1, which was last week, how I made $250,000 off 4 emails, then I would go ahead and listen to that one first, as I'm going to be building on a whole bunch of information that I included in that episode. I'm also going to be referencing a bunch of things that I referenced there too, as the time period of the $250,000 in sales has coincided with the same time period of the 100K month. So the two are very much intertwined, but I wanted to separate them out into 2 episodes because the intention of sharing each one is very different. So for example, last week, I very much went into the strategy, the marketing strategy around those 4 emails and the launch specifically. And this week, I'm talking more about that 100K cash month and how that eventuated. So specifically today, I'm going to be sharing 3 things. The first is the nuts and bolts of that $115,000 month, which is, in other words, a breakdown of the figures, what they included, where they came from, all that interesting stuff that I know I really love to hear about from other people. So I'm sure you do too. Secondly, the strategy, in other words, how it happened. And then third of all, the mindset that led to why I believe I've been able to have these big months with a whole lot of ease, and specifically this 115K month. So let's start with that nuts and bolts conversation. So in other words, the breakdown of where that money came from. So the total amount I made in cash for the month was $115,993. This was income that was derived from 3 programs. A small amount was residual income that came from Shine on Social Without Selling Your Soul of $4,133. So this was just the final payment plan payment from 13 people that came through. It was very much the tail end of that specific launch, which was my course launch. From there, $17,595 came from my private program, the Swift Inner Circle. And then the majority came from my program that you will have in my last podcast episode heard me described as my big pumpkin, which was and is the Swift Marketing Mastermind. And that amount was $94,265. Now, I do not receive this same amount every single month for the Swift Marketing Mastermind, as this was the month that we began the September round of the program. So as part of this amount, approximately 50% of that amount was pay in full payments. It's useful to know that, right? Because while big months are really common at Swift Ventures now, to date, we haven't done 6-figure months every month. And I really want to make sure that I'm clear about that. So they are the overarching figures. As you can tell, predominantly that money has come from the Swift Marketing Mastermind. In addition to that, the Swift Inner Circle and a little bit from Shine on Social Without Selling Your Soul. All right, so now that we've broken down the figures, let's talk about the strategy. And in a world where you hear people talking about 6-figure years, 6-figure months, and so much more, myself included, here is what I want you to know. I did not plan for a 6-figure month. I repeat, I did not plan for a 6-figure month. Now, I know that might sound really annoying, and me of, say, a year ago might have eye-rolled at that, but just bear with me for a minute. Let me start by telling you about all the things that I did not do. I didn't set a goal or a plan that this was going to be a 6-figure month. I didn't do that. I didn't create a specific window of time where I wanted payments to come in. I didn't count down the days of the month to ensure that I met that window. I didn't map out my income based on months, although I very much do have a plan for my year and the desired income for that year. I didn't break it down so that I could record a podcast episode that said I had a 100K plus month. That was not my intention. There was absolutely no grabby energy towards the money. In fact, I was actually surprised, as I think we'd made something like 90K in the first 10 days of the month. And it literally was a surprise to me of, oh, we're going to have a 6-figure month this month. Awesome. That's exciting. That's a win. That's a celebration. Instead of all of those things, this is what I did do. I focused really specifically on my launch and how I could call in the right people for the Swift Marketing Mastermind, which you would have heard so much more about in the last podcast episode. Once again, if you haven't gone over to listen to that, then I really recommend that you do. And secondly, I focused on continuing to serve my people really, really well who were in my existing programs, who were, and many still are. In other words, the 115K I made this past month was a byproduct of the work I did through serving my people really well and my overall incredibly sustainable marketing. It was not a burn myself to the ground month just to say that I made 115K in 1 month. You can hear the difference, right? I feel like so many of us believe that when these months happen, we're sitting over here with our calculators, madly typing in the figures and crunching numbers, when really that should never be the primary focus, but rather it's the back-end result of your attention flowing towards serving your people really well through your products and services. And as you know, as a service-based business owner, serving your people is everything. Now, the one thing that I will elaborate on when it comes to strategy is this. When it comes to knowing your numbers, the best way to do this is through spreadsheeting out your programs, the pricing, and the number of people that you would like to call into each program throughout the year. So for example, if you run a private coaching practice, how many one-to-one clients do you want to call in? If you run a course, how many people do you want to enroll in that course? Same with a mastermind, same if you do any kind of speaking, and so on and so forth. There are always ways to find more money in your business. And I really love doing this with my clients, looking at their money and being able to tweak pricing and figures and length of programs to increase what it is that they're earning. We did this recently with a Swift Inner Circle client, and we were able to plan for an extra 100K that they could earn that year in their business through only a couple of small tweaks. So I would recommend being really intentional about what your business model is and how you are specifically bringing money into your business. Now, what I can share with you very specifically is the exact mindset that I believe got me here to this point, to having this 6-figure month. So let's chat about that. There are 2 really specific themes that I've connected to this year that have completely and utterly exploded my business. The first is spaciousness, and the second is detachment. So let's chat about spaciousness first. Funny story. Funny story, I choose a word for the year every single calendar year. And every year I set an intention for the word to come through me rather than me intentionally picking it. I really like to be guided by my higher self with what is coming through rather than me getting in my head about it. And every year prior to 2020, my word was always quite yang in nature. Words like elevate, expand, thrive, super active, strategic words, right? And this year, clear as day, my word came through as spacious. And fam, I did not want that to be my word. I resisted it and resisted it and resisted it like so hard because it felt like there was nothing I could do with that word, which, as an aside, really moving out of feeling like I'm constantly having to do and instead trusting that I'm deeply worthy of being has been a really challenging thing for me to move through over, my whole life really. And it's very much an ongoing journey for me. But back to that word, I even had an entire coaching session where I whinged about that being my word and how I had no idea what it was going to be or mean for my business. And as you can imagine, I was starting to tell myself all sorts of stories about how if my word was supposed to be spacious, that it was going to, of course, mean that, my business was going to take a back seat and all these ridiculous thoughts. Anyway, here's how it did in fact manifest. I put the blinkers on big time this year and I focused on scaling my core offers only. I've outsourced a lot and my team have ring-fenced my calendar like nobody's business so that I don't have meetings and calls all week. In fact, I now have very few because that's just not the model I've chosen to create. I got really okay with this idea of not growing because I thought that if I didn't have a yang word, that would mean that I wouldn't be growing. And it was then from that place of leaning into complete and utter spaciousness in my life that the growth actually happened. And energetically, I unsubscribed completely from this whole notion of hustling to earn. And instead, I focused on all the ways that I could bring more ease into my work. So in other words, by adopting this really spacious mindset, I was able to receive more. I was able to call in more abundance by getting laser focused, allowing it to be easeful, and not subscribing to this notion that I always had to be energetically pushing. So the second theme I've lent into more than ever this year, although I would say this has always been something I've subscribed to, and that it's in fact been a really key thing in my business, is building detachment. So spaciousness and detachment. In the Swift mindset method, detaching from the outcome is one of the key steps that I teach in calling in everything that you want. Money, clients, everything else you want in your life. It's not going to come to you if you're acting like a stage 5 clinger. If you have grabby energy towards money and clients in your business, you're going to repel those money and clients again and again. But if you're detached from the outcome whilst also continuing to show up every single day for what you want, that is when you will call in what you want. That is when you will generate the 6-figure months, the 6-figure year, whatever it is that feels really big and exciting to you right now. It's when you laser focus and you know exactly what it is that you're seeking, but you then detach from that. And, when I think about the energy of detachment, it looks like fear. It's conversations like, this has to work because if it doesn't, I'm a failure. Or this has to happen for me. I have to be able to grow my business. I need to be able to, generate this launch success and bring in money through my business. Like that pressure and that detachment will never, ever work in your business. And so that extra layer of detaching this year was what has enabled me to scale and progress to things like being able to create 6-figure months. And so essentially the thing that I'd really want you to take from this episode most of all is that no matter where you're at in your business, no matter what your next level of success looks like, the way that you are going to be able to create it is to actually do the opposite thing to what you think you may need to do. It is not about getting laser focused on the specific spreadsheet of exactly how, the sums work together for it to work. It's actually about coming back to the values within your business and serving your people really, really freaking well. And knowing that when you do so, when you're really intentional about the front end, the way that you're building your business, and you're also really conscious to be receiving money, calling in more money, you're focused on those bigger picture goals of what more money look like, that is when you're going to create more money in your business and you're going to meet these goals. Not when you're sitting there with a calculator going, how can I align these strategies and set everything up so that I can create this 6-figure month? It doesn't work that way, nor should it, because it's not client focused, it's not service focused, it's not going to create a bigger difference in the world. And in fact, it's not actually going to make a difference to you. I got to tell you, I would be just as excited if I had 4, 5, 6, 50K months alongside one another. It's not about the number. The number is irrelevant. It is about what the number represents. It's about service. It's about showing up for your people. I really hope that breaking down this episode has been super useful. And like I said at the top of this, if you haven't already, please make sure you jump on over and listen to the part 1 of this episode, because it's where I chat through all things strategy and marketing specifically related to this launch. And it's somewhat ironic that this episode is a lot shorter, and that is exactly because of what I've shared as the intention of this episode, the purpose of this episode, which is that 100K cash month was never my specific intention or prerogative. And so therefore, the strategy specifically related to the 100K is almost non-existent. If instead you would like to learn more about strategy in relation to building a 6-figure, multi-6-figure, 7-figure business, then come on over and join the waitlist for the Coach Code. We will be popping it over in the show notes, thecoachcodecourse.com, where myself and my girl, Rach McDonald, are launching. We're launching it next month, November 2020, if you're listening to this as the episodes are being released. This is our signature program where we teach you the foundations that both Rach and I have used to build our businesses to what they are now. Two experienced business coaches who have been, together. We have worked in the coaching industry now for, if you combined it, it would be around 15 years. And we've also had extensive digital marketing backgrounds before that. So there is a whole lot of knowledge between the pages, the words, the coaching of this program, and we would absolutely love to have you in it. In fact, it's the only way that you can work with me in 2020. So jump on over and join the waitlist to be the first to find out and also get $200 off that price. I cannot wait. Speaking of not being able to wait, I'll be back over the next couple of weeks with some very special guests, as well as more episodes that have been requested by so many of you. Thank you so much for continuing to do so. As always, if you loved this episode, please leave me a review. It means so much to me. I jump on in each week and read them and just love them. So thank you so much for being here. Have a beautiful day. I'll be back next time.